there, grade. So today we're going to take a look just in this video on lesson 12.5 on quadrilaterals. And what you're going to notice is that a lot of it is vocabulary. You know these shapes and you know these ideas, but it might be a new vocabulary or a new way of thinking about it, okay? So this video, we're just going to go over the vocabulary and we're going to take a look at different parts of our math book, okay? So I would like you to make sure that you open your math book to page 723, okay? While you're getting your math book open, let's just talk again about what a polygon is. Remember, poly means many. So a polygon is just a shape that has many sides. It has straight sides. It has line segments that meet at corners, and so they create angles, right? So polygons can be triangles, quadrilaterals, pentagons, hexagons, octagons, decagons, okay? All those are polygons. Today, we are only going to look at quadrilaterals, which I think is a very odd word to say. Say it to yourself. Your mouth really has to move around a lot, doesn't it? Quadrilaterals, okay? We're only looking at quadrilaterals today, and we know that a quadrilateral has four sides, because quad means four, okay? It has four sides, and it has four angles. That is the definition of a quadrilateral, okay? Four sides and four angles, because those sides meet, whoopsie, forgot the S. That doesn't look like an E, does it? The sides meet at angles, and so those four sides create four angles. It's a closed, plane shape. We know that, okay? But we're going to look today at the types of quadrilaterals, okay? And what makes each one different, okay? Now, you're looking at these and you're going, Mrs. Helm, I knew what a square was when I was in preschool. And I know you did. But we're going to take a look at what makes a trapezoid less specific than a rectangle, which is less specific than a square. If you take a look on that list, a square is the most specific quadrilateral. It has the most qualities that have to be true in order for it to be a square, where a square is a rhombus, and a square is a rectangle, and a square is a trapezoid. Did you know that? Well, if you did, this will be a review. If you didn't, stick tight with me, and we're gonna take a look at all the different qualities that make each of those quadrilaterals make up each of those quadrilaterals. Okay, for today's lesson, I asked if you could have handy a few things. So I don't know what you were able to gather. I gathered some toothpicks, I gathered some markers, and I gathered some Q-tips. Can you see those all? Yeah. And I gathered, here's more markers, and I gathered some straws. Okay, what do you notice about all my materials that I gathered? They all are straight. I know the Q-tips aren't exactly, but I thought that would be kind of fun to use Q-tips, okay? So if you have some or all of these, it would be great, okay? Because you're going to try to make some shapes as I talk to you about it, okay? Now, what I want us to notice is that the way that we set this up will show, for example, if I'm going to make two parallel lines, I'm going to use two orange markers, okay? So I'm going to make my oranges parallel to each other. My tricky part on here is that my things roll off. So I'm going to try and make them still, but things might move a smidge, where if you're working at home, hopefully yours won't move. My markers roll but my toothpicks don't, okay? So same example, I'm going to have my orange toothpicks. If I'm going to make two parallel lines, I'm going to show it like that. Parallel means they do not intersect, okay? So I'm going to try to kind of keep that in the back of my head. All right. The first thing I want you to do is see, using any of your materials, could you create a trapezoid? Now, a trapezoid, what is a trapezoid? A trapezoid has at least one pair of opposite sides that are parallel. One pair of opposite sides. So I could create a trapezoid. Those could be my parallel lines. And these, oh, that won't work, will it? Let's see. These could be, ready? Okay, now look, I created a trapezoid. My Q-tip and my straw are parallel. the toothpicks are not parallel, because if I drew those out, they would eventually intersect, right? So they're not parallel if I drew them out. They would intersect if they went up like that. But my Q-tip and my straw are parallel. Okay, so that's a parallel. Okay, let's see. Let's see if I did this. So that's parallel, that's parallel. Is that a trapezoid? Yeah, actually it is. It might, the way I have it done right here, it might look a little bit more like a rectangle. If I put these on the inside of one and the outside of the other, then I think it would be more of a square, right? I could get it to be a square. But all that we know that has to be true for a trapezoid, it only has one qualification. It only has to have one pair of opposite sides that are parallel. So we're going to notice, sorry, it's erasing. A trapezoid, only because it's only not as specific, a rectangle is a trapezoid, and a square is a trapezoid, and a rhombus is a trapezoid, because they all meet that one qualification. Okay, now, next one, ready? Can you make a rectangle? You're going, Mrs. Helm, I made a rectangle, like, when I was 2. I know, but just do it for me. Okay, ready? Rectangle, boom. Uh-oh, they're gonna roll away, aren't they? Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom. Okay, when you made your rectangle, what did you notice? Ready? To make a rectangle, can you see this if I put that there? Okay, ready? To make a rectangle, 2 pairs of opposite sides are parallel. Okay, so the markers are a pair, that's one pair, and the Q-tips are a pair, that's the second pair. 2 pairs of opposite sides are parallel. The Q-tips are never going to touch, and the markers are never going to touch. 2 pairs. Okay, 2 pairs of sides that are equal length. The orange markers are equal, the Q-tips are equal. So I have 2 pairs that are equal length. And this one, I have 4 right angles. 4 right angles. So I could draw a little square in each one, and we'll see that later. A little square in each one to show that it is a right angle. It's 90 degrees. It is perpendicular lines. This marker and this Q-tip are meeting at a perpendicular line, okay? So, does a rectangle qualify as a trapezoid? Sure does, because it has at least one pair of parallel lines. Is it a quadrilateral? Of course, because it has 4 sides and 4 angles. Is it a polygon? Of course, it has many sides. So while we call this a rectangle, we could also call it a quadrilateral, or we could call it a polygon, or we could call it a trapezoid. But we refer to shapes as the most specific, and we'll see why, okay? We're going to see why. Okay, now, if you have a rectangle on your paper, can you turn it into a square? Okay, so what are my options right here? I can either take away my markers and add Q-tips, right? Which I already did once, boom, boom, and I could have a square. Or I could have taken away, here are my markers again, and added, here we go. My markers roll away, so it's a little bit tricky. Let's see if I can get this to stay. A square. Oh, look, I have 2 squares. Okay, ready? This is gonna roll away, so I'm not gonna use that. Okay. You made your rectangle turn into a square by changing 2 of the sides. It doesn't matter which 2 sides, because you know that a square, like a rectangle, a square has 2 pairs of opposite sides that are parallel. These 2 sides, the vertical sides, are parallel, and the horizontal sides are parallel. But you also know that a square is more specific. It has to have 4 sides that are equal length, not just 2. And just like a rectangle, it has 4 right angles. So these are all 90 degrees, right? So the difference between this square, and that rectangle was only this one, right? About the sides that are equal length. Okay, so a square is in fact a rectangle, isn't it? It's just more specific. It has more qualities. Is a square a trapezoid? Yeah, because a trapezoid only has to have one set, it has to have at least one pair of parallel lines. This one happens to have 2 pairs. So we could call this a trapezoid. We could call this a quadrilateral because it has 4 sides. We could call it a polygon. But we know that when we name shapes, we use the most specific. right? That's another hard word for me to say. All right, ready? Now this one, rhombus. If you think back to our pattern blocks, you know, with the yellow hexagons and the green triangles and the blue squares in our classroom, and that you've used all throughout elementary school, you had a fat rhombus and a skinny rhombus. Do you remember those? Okay, can you make a rhombus? All right, let's see. I'm gonna make a rhombus. Let's see. A rhombus, I'm gonna do this. Boom, boom, because they won't roll away. Uh-oh, oh, here they are. Boom. Actually, I'm gonna do this way. Boom, boom. What do you think of that rhombus? Can I do it with Q-tips? Sure. Boom, boom, boom. Whoa. Sorry. Boom. Boom. I'm a little off my sheet here. Can you still see? Okay, ready? So I have two rhombuses. What do you notice about a rhombus? Ready? A rhombus must have two pairs of opposite sides that are parallel. Wait, that was the same thing as a square and a rectangle, wasn't it? And a trapezoid only had to have one, but it could have two. A rhombus has two pairs of opposite sides that are parallel. Look, these are parallel. The green toothpicks are parallel. The orange toothpicks are parallel. They're never going to touch. But a rhombus has to have four sides that are equal length. Wait a minute, that was true of a square. So what makes a rhombus not a square? These angles are not 90 degrees, right? This is an acute angle and this is an obtuse angle. It has two acute and two obtuse angles. So it doesn't have right angles, which means it's not a square. I always envision a rhombus kind of like a square that got pushed over like this. Watch. This is what I think of a rhombus. Here's a square, right? A square that got squeezed, pinched. Opposite sides are parallel. All the sides are equal. So in order to make a rhombus, I had to use all Q-tips or all toothpicks or all markers. I couldn't mix them up, right? So a rhombus is different than a square, but is a square a rhombus? Yes, because a square is even more specific than a rhombus. Okay, so this is, while you know these shapes, what gets a little tricky is just remembering all the vocabulary, I think. That's the trickiest part. And the more that we practice it and the more that we look at it, we're gonna notice patterns. Okay, so I want you're just gonna glance over to page 724, and we're gonna take a look at, sorry, let me see if I can get this on the screen for you without scratching my floor. Here we go. Oops. All right, let me see if I can get all these in here. All right. Is that okay? There we go. Okay, so I tried my best of drawing numbers 4 through 9, okay? And we're gonna take a look at them together and we're gonna see what we notice, okay? Number 4, they're asking circle all the words that describe this quadrilateral, okay? Now, notice they drew these tiny little squares in the corners, and that tells us that that meets at a 90-degree angle. Okay, now if we go back to what we learned on the page before, there were only two shapes that had to have 90-degree angles. And you're saying, Miss Tom, I know exactly what this is. This is a rectangle. It absolutely is a rectangle. So we would circle, this one is a rectangle. Is it a rhombus? No, it's not a rhombus because a rhombus has all sides that are equal. Is it a square? No, it's not a square because a square has all sides that are equal. Is this a trapezoid? Trapezoid, let's remember, a trapezoid has to have at least one pair of parallel lines. This line and this line are parallel, and this line and this line are parallel. So yes, this is a trapezoid. So number 4 would be considered a rectangle. I'm just going to abbreviate. A rectangle and a trapezoid. Okay? Rectangle and a trapezoid. All right, let's look at number 5. I didn't draw it so well, sorry. Okay, is this a rhombus? Yes. It has 4 sides that are equal, and it has two pairs of parallel lines. So yes, this is a rhombus. Rhombus, RH, isn't that funny? A rhombus, okay. Is this a quadrilateral? Well, of course, it has four sides. So of course it's a quadrilateral. All right, we're gonna circle quadrilateral. Is this a square? No, because a square has to have right angles. Four right angles. This is not a square. Is this a rectangle? No, because a rectangle has to have four right angles. So that one's a rhombus and a quadrilateral. All right, number 6. Is this a rectangle? No, rectangle has to have four right angles. Is this a rhombus? No, because all sides in a rhombus have to be equal, and this side is surely shorter than that side, correct? Okay, not a rhombus. Is this a trapezoid? Does it have at least one pair of parallel lines? Yep, because this line and this line are parallel. So this would definitely be called, oh wait, a trapezoid. I wrote the wrong thing. This would definitely be called a trapezoid, okay? Is this a quadrilateral? Of course it is. It has four sides. That's easy. Is it a polygon? Absolutely. Okay, that wasn't a choice though. All right, number 7. Ready? Is this a rectangle? No. Needs right angles. Is this a trapezoid? Trapezoid. Think about what a trapezoid is. Does it have at least one pair of parallel lines? Nope. Is this a quadrilateral? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, this is a quadrilateral. It has four sides. Is this a rhombus? No, this side is so much longer than that. No, not a quadrilateral. Nope. So that one's, I'm sorry, not a rhombus. That is only a quadrilateral. See, I'm getting all my words confused. Okay, number 8. Is this a rectangle? No, because a rectangle must have four right angles. Is this a rhombus? No, this is not a rhombus. A rhombus has to have all sides that are equal, and this one is much longer than that one. Is this a trapezoid? Has to have one set of parallel lines. It has to have at least one set. This is parallel to this one. So this is definitely a trapezoid. All right. Is this one a square? No. Has to have four right angles. All right. Number 9. Is this one a quadrilateral? Yes, it has four sides. So this one's definitely a quadrilateral. All right. Is this one a square? Well, of course, you've known what a square is since you were 2. Okay. Is this one a rectangle? Yes, this one is a rectangle. Remember, squares are rectangles. Rectangles are not squares, but squares are rectangles because all a rectangle has to do is have two pairs of parallel lines. This is parallel to this, this is parallel to that, and it has to have four right angles and two pairs of equal length. This has 4 of equal length, but that's 2 pairs, right? Okay. Is this a rhombus? Are all sides equal? Are opposite sides parallel? Yes, so this is also a rhombus. Look at that. All right. It's a lot of vocabulary. I know that. And if you get confused, just keep going back to the pages that you saw. I can post these if that helps. But go back to page 273 because that will really help you kind of figure out which shape is which, okay? What is true of what. But what I want us to realize is that trapezoid is the broadest category. Most will fit into trapezoids. Rectangles and squares, we have right angles. Rhombuses do not have right angles, but they have opposite sides that are parallel. They could have right angles, but they don't have to have right angles, okay? So the most specific of them would be the square, right? The most specific. It has the most qualifiers in order to be a square. But you know what a square is, all right? Okay, so we're going to make sure that we're taking a look and we understand what the word parallel is because a parallel, they can also be called parallelograms. That's not a word that's in our math book, but you'll see it in this funny song that I found. But parallelograms are just when a shape has opposite sides that are parallel. So a rectangle and a rhombus and a square are all parallelograms. Opposite sides are parallel. All right. You're going to do a few of these pages, so watch carefully, and then I'm going to do another quick video. I promise it won't be this long. Quick video on 12.5.